Hi, what's up? We're busy telling a story here, guys. Really, Yazzie, I've got so many parts and I've got so much information to share that I'd like, yeah, time, is ticking and ticking and ticking, and it's gonna eventually slap me upside the head. But let's just get into this. Please go check out the previous parts to gauge your bearings, right? I was explaining to you guys how it is that a myriad of forces basically contributed to the not only breakup of my ex, but the bitterness of my ex, the change of personality of my ex, all of his own making and doing, because he had everything that he needed in order to basically make better decisions. But later on, he made a decision to change because of the curse, the fall, guys, the fall. All right, men will want to lord it over women with an iron fist. Men want women who need them. That the women that are needy to a point where they disregard ride or die women that for a season are there for the men because they are still kind of lowly in life and trying to build themselves. And because of how strong these women tend to be in these men's lives, they then allow themselves to capitulate to weak women so they can feel like men for all of 5 seconds. I also spoke about how men compete, guys, they compete with their friends very differently from the way that women compete with their fellow females. Men compete with women in the sense that if you've got a really good girl, their male friends will usually sabotage that union. They will act like saboteurs and basically break guys up with great women, only to later on be saddened by how much their friend has basically lost something really great in a way that is felt and visible. And so therefore they feel bad for him. They feel bad for breaking him up. But they're the ones that initially caused the celebration of Jezebel women that become the bane of the existence of main chicks, or the bane of the existence of wife-like material women. Okay? And I'm trying to explain to women that the only way to be rescued from this inevitable trend, I bet there are a lot of women who can relate to my story, but who allowed themselves to basically be dragged through the mud by this eventuality. Because even though they were the great girls that were passed up, they allowed themselves to be number 2 and 3 and 4, because the guys that eventually wake up to the insanity that they are walking in, they wake up having married other women, and now they either want to convert good girls into mistresses or second wives. And like I said, the scriptures make it clear that marriage and remarriage is a sin before God, and it converts whoever is involved in it into an adulteress or an adulterer. So we can't just go out like that, and the way to protect yourself from it is through Jesus. So I'm busy explaining my own story with an ex-boyfriend that could have been a really great husband if he didn't allow the calamitizing force of bad male friends and a bad Jezebelian force of a woman to segregate him from future happiness with the woman that he was given when he was still a kid, a baby. It is written in the Proverbs that men, you must always love the breast of the wife of your youth. This guy met me when I was just 22 and he was 26. We could have just gone into the future sunset because he was a pleasant surprise for me because of how romantic he was and how available for me he was. He was something that was the best boyfriend I'd ever had. So might as well get married. And I was also, it turned out, the best girlfriend he'd ever had. So we might as well get married. We should have sung that song earlier, Driki. We should get married. We should get married. Let's stop holding back and start let's get carried away. While we were still in the world, we were still singing those songs. And then likely gotten saved in Christ, either in the marriage or in the run-up to getting married. Because in order to get married in black culture, we gotta go through Ikerek and my ancestors and whatnot. So maybe going through the church might have actually rescued us for Jesus. And so then we would have loved Jesus. We would have eventually just done Christ. Both got saved, even though we started out in fornication, started out in worldliness type thing. It was perfect until it got decimated by worldliness. Segregation was ultimately embarked upon between us because I went to Jesus and he went all the way down into the abyss. Okay, very well. Now this Jezebelian force, in the previous part I was talking about a Jezebelian force that ended up becoming the bane of my existence. Now in this part I'm going to try and diverge the matters together by explaining the man cave force that also then contributed to the demise of my relationship with my ex, and how it is that I'm doing so much better than him because I gave my life to Christ, but he gave his life to the darkness, and he's the one now that is in regret, but I am the one here that is in anticipation of breakthrough. Both suffering from what was done to both of us, but I'm suffering unto bitterness, whereas he's suffering unto wickedness. It's written in God's word that you do well if you suffer for doing what is good, but you should not suffer as one who is a meddler, a thief, a liar, a murderer, or whatever. My ex is like one, as it is written in 1 Peter 4, who is suffering for being evil, but I am suffering for the cause of Christ. My end goal is expected breakthrough. His it's just the finishing off of this person unless he repents and acknowledges where he went wrong, resists the devil, and just basically becomes a testimony as a monolith, a monument that will basically show people what not to allow yourself to end up as. Okay. So now how his boys contributed, how the male conglomerate contributed, how it is that men therefore are without excuse right now, and why I also don't even try to talk to men anymore, because one, the Lord does not allow a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man, and secondly, because men in the last days just culminate to a point where they absolutely refuse to listen to women, so it's pointless even to try. So therefore I'm trying to reach women, and God says that if you have a peaceable and a quiet spirit as a female, you might actually win your husbands over. So if I can make women pious, it might just bring men home. Okay, right. So very well, here it is that I'm with this guy. So in the previous part I told you that he ended up dissing this girl for calling him wanting chelete ya go reka katiba ya Durban July, but I had to fascinate a hat for the Durban July, some horse race like celebrity function in this country. Those of you who don't even know what that is. Okay, yeah, no, now how his boys contributed. My ex-boyfriend in the beginning of the relationship, I remember one time he was on the phone with me very early, like as in we are flirting, we have gone on a first date and everything. We have not even, done the dirty nothing, and he's just flirting hard knock with me. And we're on the phone on the day that he basically told me he loved me for the first time. He calls me, right, and makes some silly joke on the phone about how him and his friend nebacha getsele khanyane. That's some ZCC leader. He freaked me out. I was like, I don't want to date in ZCC. He's like, he was full of jokes like that. Okay, I was like, I was relieved because I didn't know what to say, because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm dating one of those weird religion guys. Okay, na ZCC. He was joking. He's like, it's our meeting. He's like, it's our meeting in Lele Khanyane. It was funny. I was like, oh my goodness. And then he was like, I'm kidding. What were you gonna do if it was real? Were you gonna dump me because Kim said that's discrimination? Anyway, whatever. So on the same day, he was at a party, right? I could hear the music in the background. And he was like kind of removed from his boys. And he said to me, I was like, I can hear that you're like out there partying it up a storm. It was like a Thursday or a Friday. I was like, where are you? Hey, right? Guy. He's like, I'm at one of my boys' houses. They're having a little get together, but I just want to get away from here. I don't even like being at these places anymore. That's the thing. Like, you do that to me. You make me want to stay home and talk all night. Like, we fell in love so hard and fast, right? So I was feeling like, oh my goodness, like, wow, this guy, he digs me so much. And I'm like, yeah, I'm spazzing at this point, right? On the phone, I'm just falling apart. Like, everything is just happening for me. I'm with the guy now, right? He's like, I don't even want to be here. And I'm like, yes, I'm tired of laba jiva. Like, I mean, I'm only 22 years old, but I've been partying at the stage since I was like 17. And I was sick and tired of that kind of relationship where you just meet at parties and you fornicate, and then you go home, you barely talk, you don't even know each other's surnames, but you're doing that for like 18 months. So that's what makes you immediate. Like, whoa. And for me to hear my ex-boyfriend talking like this, saying that he just doesn't want to be at the party, I make him want to go home and just like lie in bed looking at the ceiling on the phone with me all night, because he'd much rather be there in that space than with me. That's why his mom loved me so much, because I made him stay home. I made him choose to rather be at home instead of be out clubbing, partying and whatnot. And then he also told me, remember we had no, not yet at that stage. No, by then, we were we already that was before the fornication for sure. It definitely was. Still around like beginning of November, because that's when we started dating. After first date, prior to fornication and whatnot. And he's telling me that looking up in the sky and whatnot, he would much rather be in his bedroom looking up in the sky talking to me on the phone instead of at the party. And remember, on our first date, I had told you guys that I told him I'm not into guys into drugs. Like I already, this is gonna be a deal breaker for me. He then was telling me that, yeah, and on top of that, my boys are busy like taking ecstasy and what have you, and I really just, I don't want to be in this type thing, because like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to be with you. So I'm thinking, he's like leaving drugs for me. He's like all in love, and he has time to like literally get off the phone, break away from his boys, just to call me and like say what's up. He was like that in love. Like guys, when they're with other guys, they'll just forget you. Like, yeah, you will hear from him tomorrow in the office at 12 p.m. That's when he'll call you. Like, it's just boring, it's annoying. But not with this guy. Like, we were not only calling each other voice calls all day long, but the SMS as well, boo boo boo, on it, like a twin from all day long. I'd wake up in the morning and it'd be a text message, like, and it stayed like that, like I said, all relationship long for 5 years. We never got bored of each other. So what this guy lost is astronomical. He never stopped. Like, feelings never ever like were dropped at the door. Like, what the heck? Like, you know when you just mess with something so big? Anyway, whatever. Cool beans and banana. So that's how we were in the beginning. And then at the end of that conversation, he just kind of like dropped a bomb on me. And he was like, I love you, right? And you know what a big deal that is to a woman type thing. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he was like, you don't have to respond. You don't have to say it back. I just wanted to let you know that I love you. I was like, I love you too. So that was the first time we sort of kind of exchanged I love yous type establishment thing. So on that day, that's when I was like, oh my goodness, this guy digs me so much that he wants to break away from Abangan Bag. He's like Neo with Carrie Hill at this point. I used to be commander-in-chief with my flag out there flying high until I made this pretty little mess that made me stay at home. That's what's good. And I was like, I got him, right? This is not the very beginning, even before fornication. I got him. Yeah, I think I got him. That's what's good. And indeed I had him. To a certain extent I had him. Anyway, whatever. This dude is breaking away from friends. Family starting to love me because of it. Breaking away from lifestyle of borendom. Everybody is starting to notice. His friends then, from that stage, early in the relationship, they started to notice. We call him on some boy, we'll come in and pick you up, see us, we're going wherever. And he's like, dudes, nah, it's cool, like maybe next time. They started to pick that stuff up. They started to notice that he's no longer like tagging along with them as frequently. Not only did they notice that, but they also noticed that when he is rocking up at things they invite him to, he just insists that this woman of his comes with, right? Before I got my own car and when I could not use my mom's car, he would insist that his boys, pick me up. And he lived in the south of Johannesburg. I live in Rediport. Like, literally, who in the world lives in Rediport? No one. There's no one. It's not like you're gonna drive by this particular guy's house and then you'll just pick up Imedi. Nonti. I said his name was Nonti. Like, well, then just pick up Imedi. It's like they had to go out of their way to pick me up. They had to like get on the highway and stuff. He didn't have his own car, and this used to kind of irritate his boys because it was like, first of all, we have to pick up Imedi Yako, and then we have to also drop her off. Sitagi we boy. Yo, it got taxing, right? But thankfully, I was able to use my mom's car a lot of times before I got my own car. And like I said, we did not even party together all that much. We much rather preferred to book into a hotel and spend all that weekend long in the hotels before I got a car. Once we got a car, that's when we really started to party a lot and drive all over the show. Yes, I used to drink and drive. I was lost. Thank God he rescued me from accidents and being caught by the police. Okay, very well. Type setup thing. So in the first year of our relationship, we were mostly indoors, and this is a man that was partying, never mind every weekend, but sometimes like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right, Sunday, una jiva, to a point even sometimes of getting to work like Baba last and whatnot, maybe even not coming to work because he's like Baba last, or just irresponsible life of a young 20-something. And I came into his life, and now it's like he was like a husband or something, except one that stays at home with his parents. His boys creased their foreheads and they were like, what in the world? This friend of ours has never been like this with any woman before. Like, see, we call him, he's like with Karabo. When we go out, he insists that we go and pick up this woman that lives on the other side of the world and drop her off at the end of the night. He sometimes, like, we don't see him for weeks on end because every weekend, no Karabo. What's going on? Like, our boy is whipped, and frankly, he is too young. Like, somebody needs to give him a lesson as to how to be a man. You can't just let a woman change your life like that. And since when? The Bible says a man is to leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Not a man is to leave his mother and father, kick it up a storm, so he's royal oaths with his boys, club up and down, like twerk, gyrate, do cartwheels on the dance floor, meet a girl on the dance floor, then only cleave to his wife, and the two become one flesh. The scriptures are clear that a man's best friend is a woman, not a man. Literally, the scriptures are so clear that a man's partner in life is a woman, not men. So when men make other men partners in life, they lose good women. And then they regret it later, because when you're tired and you're no longer clubbing and you don't care to be perusing like, Melville 24 hours a day, when you really want to be home, Oshebile TV with your belly growing big, you gotta have a ride or die woman there on that day. You're not gonna have your boys, you're just gonna have the woman. So it is so foolish, this youthful ideology of wreaking havoc in the life of women for men, because later on in life there is severe regret, and the regret is irrevocable. Like, the circumstances that ultimately ensue are so irreversible and so full of regret that these guys, really, since history repeats itself, how about you learn lessons from your forefathers? It's just the same cycle of mistakes that men make over and over and over and over again. They lose ride or die women because of man caves, because of bad advice from men. And it turns out that men never ever grow up out of that stupid mindset, because even when they are the dads of these boys, like my son, not my son, sorry, this might as well have been, but my boyfriend, his dad was a grown man now that ought to have learned lessons enough to let his son not make them. Instead, he counseled his son into the same trap that in and of himself he fell into. Guys, it's like Sataneha operator, when the devil, he's like a puppeteer proper, and the human race are marionettes on a string. And he successfully destroys men with this same strategy, and also successfully destroys women with the same strategy. Men, he destroys them by making them irresponsible and messing up with ride or dies that they meet in their youth. God is gracious enough to make men meet the perfect women when they're still young, because God wants people to marry young, because he doesn't want them to fall into fornication, to fall into passions. So he will tend to make you meet the perfect woman in your youth, which is why a lot of men are still busy looking back at the woman that they met when they were 19, 20, 21, 25, and they've never met anything better that compares later on in life. They just never encountered it, even though they thought they could afford to just play around, because there's more where they came from. They think that they can just keep on fishing and fishing and fishing, when the perfect woman rocked up when they were just 26, when they were 25, when they were 24. Women get destroyed by savagery. They think that by being mean, they win. And indeed, in the beginning, they win, because men love savage women when they are still irresponsible and putting it up a storm, painting the town red. But when they want to come down, they want to come down with calm women. But by then, they've lost calm women, and then they end up married to savage women. And then later on, they subjugate good women to the tyranny of remarriage, or being second wives, or mistress status, or whatnot. These are the same, he literally decimates, capsizes like a boat, the human race in the exact same way over and over again. He knows how to ruin women, and he also knows how to ruin men. So I am here to try and counsel women to not allow themselves to be ruined by that which the devil does to ruin them. Here it is that my boyfriend was being gazed upon by an irresponsible man cave that literally could not wake up in time to realize in and of themselves that, yes, guys, let's be serious here. That we met, because the women that my boys friends were with, that were middies that I got to meet, they were all good girls, they were all good peoples, they were my girls too. We were cool chicks, man. We were ride or die, we were faithful, we were all these things. But the rubbish that they were being put through, one of the girls that I was tight with, that was one of my boyfriend's best friends, girlfriends, guys, boyfriend corner, almost every time that we would hook up with this guy to go partying, he had a new woman on his shoulder. And I did not even know when under heaven he was able to give, let's say her name was Renelwe. I don't know how he was able to give Renelwe time, because rarely ever did I ever go partying or clubbing, hanging out basically. Not Renelwe. It was always some side chick. One of the side chicks of which used to work in the same call center that I was working at, my goodness. And I didn't even tell Renelwe. That's the thing, women, in and of myself, I was destructive. I was on a path to hell that led to destruction. So I was not even faithful or loyal to females the way that I ought to have been. I was supposed to tell Renelwe. But this woman, mengisebenza naye eco center, langisebenza naye eco center where I was working, and she also had an attitude. She was weird. She was one of those, typical side piece type chick. She was a bad woman, a Jezebel. And Urinelo was such a good girl. And I remember when I met her, first of all, I worked at the call center first, and then they recruited a new bunch of kids, and she started working there. And I met her in the bathroom, and I was like, hi. She's like, oh, hi. Elore. She recognized me from the party of 2 weeks ago, and she was the side piece of Renelo's boyfriend. And I was just like, nice to see you. Bye. Got out of the bathroom, did not tell my girl that the bane of her existence works in my building, and she has the audacity to greet me like we're friends when we're not. I wasn't loyal, and that's how women are. They don't tell tell on each other. They stab each other in the back. They don't tell on these men. They don't. That's why they continue to run amok, rampant like this. Heck, one time my cousin was being cheated on. My own cousin. My boyfriend told me that her boyfriend cheated on her with some chick, and I did not tell my cousin. My best friend, one time my boyfriend told me that her boyfriend told him that he's busy with so many other women at the same time, and I did not think to tell my best friend. My own best friend. We are loyal to these guys more than we are to each other, and that is what is destroying us. I am guilty of it. So frankly, I don't know how many women have hung out with a side piece of my ex that did not come back and tell me that, girl, last week never blobele side piece. I don't know how many of these women's side pieces I met, and I kept a straight face at the parties and pretended like, and I'm not the kind of woman to pass other women's shade. So I was nice to them. I partied with them, I danced with them, but I low-key knew that like, you're the side piece. I remember when I first met the side piece, the main chick of this one other guy, she passed me shade, even though she didn't tell me why, because she thought I was my boyfriend's side piece because she had met Imediake before me. I told you guys that in the previous part. Yeah, she only confessed to me why she gave me attitude initially when she met me, once she established that my ex-boy broke up with that woman and now I was in the life of my ex. She was like, I thought you were his side piece, that's why I gave you all that attitude initially. But I wasn't like her. I didn't even give her the courtesy of giving the other woman attitude. I was just sweet karabo, literally dancing, ignoring the pain of another woman with a side chick. Anyway, so because I was constantly seeing these side pieces, because my ex was always with me, whereas their girlfriends weren't always with them. Nebaba siya, that's the thing. There were women that were neba check during the week, and these guys would have likely even seen them earlier in the day. Let's say it's a Saturday. They would have like hung out all day long that Saturday with their girlfriends, and then later on went partying with their side pieces. So these guys could not understand why my ex couldn't do that. Why he couldn't come check on me during the day and at night dance and have sex with a side piece. They couldn't understand why he had to be with me basically almost 24 hours a day. It's like they felt like I was his ankle monitor or something, and they didn't like it. They didn't like it. His boys, I mean, initially when they met me, they were sweet, but I could tell that they felt irritated by my constant presence, and they felt like my ex was just kind of whipped and he needed to just get his act together, because that's not how you act as a young man that still has a long life to live. And you don't, I mean, you're dude, she's not your wife, she's a girlfriend. Fine, Imedi will acknowledge her as such. Sizomhlonipha as Imedi, will respect her as Imedi, but you need to get yourself loosened up. Indeed, because of this mindset. Because my ex got this pressure where, like, in the run-up to his brother's passing, because he was in so much pain, because it like I said, it was a cancer, so it was progressive, meaning that he didn't die immediately. It's not like a car accident or anything like that. It became clear at some point that it was terminal, so he was gonna die. And like I told you, I did not know his brother that well in comparison to all the friends that he had all along, all the hangouts that he had that were able to comfort him better because they knew him better. It's like I was a stranger. I told you guys that when it comes to the death of my ex's brother, I really struggled to comfort him, because it's like he undermined my ability to really be there for him, because I didn't know him. So he chose rather, I didn't know him that well, he chose rather to hang out with he started to choose to hang out with his boys more than with me. Started to pass up weekends. I remember one time, right, he came to, I thought I was sick. Like, I remember I said that we used to book into hotels. Yes, we used to book into hotels on weekends, me and my boyfriend, before I got my own apartment, before my mom kicked me out of home and I got my own apartment. I'm gonna tell that story just now. Yes, while we had booked into like Town Lodge, and I was sick the whole weekend, like the entire weekend. Something was wrong. I was vomiting all over the show. I was coughing it up a storm. I had headaches and no grandpa would work. I was just listless, right? Nonetheless, I decided to go and hang out with my boyfriend all weekend. I did not give him the sickness, I'm surprised. He did not catch it. We were snuggling all weekend, right? So Nikikula, like Hambe, he was taking care of me indeed, right? In that sick state that I was in. We didn't have a car, goodness. So we were walking in the blazing sun with that sickness in my body. It was so terrible. And I thought I was pregnant because I was vomiting like no man's business. I was on the contraceptive pill, but sometimes these things just whoops on you. My ex and I, literally from the beginning of the relationship, never used protection. Irresponsible much? Yeah. Well, yeah. We even took an HIV test only afterwards. It's like we confirmed I was like, I took a test about a couple of weeks ago. I was negative. What about you? And that's all we ran on. I could have gotten sick. He could have gotten sick. Yes, irresponsibility. Anyway, thank God, none of that was the case. So we never used protection, like ever. Like the whole relationship until only at the end. Yazzie, why did I get married? Go watch that movie. Yeah, Janet Jackson, a man, a woman, you end up with HIV in a marriage. And you like, how did this happen? Because, when we got into it, we were both negative. Anyway, whatever. So here it is that we both had a clean bill of health. We never used to use protection. I was, however, on the contraceptive pill. And I was religiously taking it. I never used to forget, like at all. Like I just took it, right? Very well. So because of how sick I got and how much I was just vomiting, like all weekend, I was just so sick. Go with the link. I should have just stayed home. Anyway, whatever. Right. I then looked at my boyfriend. Not go with the link. Sorry. Went home and everything. I had actually, yes, the doctor had prescribed to me antibiotics. I had gone to see a doctor. I was on a hospital plan because I had a call center job. I wasn't trying to get comprehensive medical aid. What in the world, right? This doctor was lazy to do proper checks on me. So he just gave me some like low level antibiotic and sent me away. I never got better. I kept on going to work and but I was on the floor. I was very sick. So because I was on antibiotics, I imagined that since my ex and I had already booked into the hotel, we booked in advance, we're gonna spend time together. I went with him. I was just sick like the whole weekend. Despite it all, nonetheless, fornication happened, but I was sick. I was like very sick, like sick. Basically, I was dying. Okay. Went home. My mom is the one that recommended that I go see a lifelong family doctor that, does concessions every so often because he knew us from the time we were babies. Go downtown Joburg, like Dr. Jusub. That doctor is the one that finally diagnosed me with pneumonia, for crying out loud. Like I had pneumonia, you guys. I was dying. Thank God I would have gone to hell. Neither fornicator nor idolater will enter the kingdom of heaven. Thank God I didn't die. But before I went to go and see Jusab, who finally put me on the right spectrum of antibiotics, like hard knock antibiotics, that I finally got better, I was still really sick. So a week progressed with me being this sick, right? And like I was just not getting better. Vicks Vaporub and what have you. Nothing was working and I was vomiting. So that Friday, right, my ex came to see me because I told him I'm still not better. I can fully, dude. Like what? Where's a long more life thing? What if I'm pregnant? Because I keep vomiting. Maybe this is what pregnancy looks like. And he was like, I'll come see you, right? I'll ask my cousin to drop me off. I'll come see you. So he comes with his cousin, and he again, he was that fire flower buying type. He had brought me flowers and like some chocolates on some get well soon, a little card, a teddy bear. He was such a romantic. Anyway, so I'm standing there at the gate. My mom had already met him and everything. He was like, yeah, we knew each other's families and what have you. So it was not like he was sneaking in or whatever. Plus, I wasn't like in my 20s, like relax. Okay, cool. So here it is that he's at the door of my mom's house, and he is like with his cousin, and his cousin's like, hello Karabo, how are you? Yeah, get well. Hey, yeah, get well. Like, thanks, dude. Let's say his name was Tumbamba. Thanks, Tumbamba. Yeah, type thing. Tumbamba then sits in the car after well wishing me, and my ex and I stand just at the door of the kitchen, and I'm basically like holding on for dear life because I'm still really sick. I'm yet to go and see a proper doctor. Okay, yeah. And I tell my ex right there. So first of all, I notice that I noticed. First of all, him and Tubamba are all dressed up. So this is not, my boyfriend is not with me right now. Good Friday, I get. He is not a man that left Kohabona to come and see me so that he could go back home. He was obviously en route somewhere else. He was going somewhere else. You could tell that him and his cousin were going to party, and I didn't have an issue with that because he was a young man. Plus, we're not together. We usually spend all our time together on the weekends, but this time around I'm really sick, so I'm there on some where are you guys going? I'm coughing, right? Where are you guys going? And guys, he was touching here, leaving there, touching here, leaving there, touching here, leaving there. He didn't want to tell me. My ex struggled to lie to me. He could have just been like, news cafe to go drink, we're going to Premi to go eat, he was like, eventually he was like, nah, we're going going to the and then he told me one of the Jezebel girl, the one that was the bane of my existence. I guess they all grew up together. One of her close friends was dating one of my ex's friends, and there was a party of some sort that they were having because somebody was having a birthday, and she was obviously going to be there. At this stage, I had not yet met this chick. I'd never seen her, what she looks like, nothing. Okay, very well. I'm thinking, ugh. And my ex then is like, my boy is having a little get together with a whole bunch of us. And at that stage, I knew that his boy is the boyfriend of one of the closest friends of this girl. And so I knew that not only would the girlfriend be there, but pretty much the girlfriend's crew. She would invite her friends. And so I knew that my ex was about to go and hang out with this woman that's the bane of my existence, right? At which point I was like, is Pinky gonna be there? And he was like, yeah. You know, the way he answered me, it was like he didn't even want me to know. And yes, in my heart, guys, apula di aparo tsa go kula di pajama. I wanted to take off my pajamas or whatever I was wearing, put on some jeans and a t-shirt, a jacket, some shoes, wear some mascara, and be like, I'm coming with. I wanted to go with him. I was so sick. I was so violently sick, but I wished I could have just like cured myself real quick and gotten into some clothes and went with him and his cousin to go and dance a party, have this braai at this place, because I knew that this random female was going to be there. For the life of me, I could not trust that he would be faithful, that he wouldn't make out with her, or that they wouldn't flirt. The thing is, I knew this woman had it in for me, but I did not know just how faithful my ex was. I did not know if he was prepared to bend some rules, flirt with this woman, spend all night just rapping and chatting with her. Guys, I wanted to go with anyway, whatever. That was not an option. But then, right there, at that particular stage, stuff that just made me extra insecure. I told my ex, look, I'm sick, I don't know what's wrong with me. I took antibiotics to try and curb the issue, but I'm still vomiting all over the show. What if I'm pregnant? I had already told him on the phone. That what if I'm pregnant? Like, what if I'm pregnant? You know? And he was like, I'm coming, we'll talk. And then now at the door of my house, I'm still saying, what if I'm pregnant? To him. At this stage, he dropped a bomb that just shattered me so much. He was like, but babe, we're not ready for a child. Yo, guys, yes, like it. But yeah, I was like, what? Yes, I looked at him and I was like, what? Dude, like, you don't even have a budget for condoms because we don't use them. And you don't think that when that is our sexual life, at some point, maybe, just maybe, one might hit a home run for real? Like, you don't ever pull out a condom. Neither do you ever even pull out before you arrive. And you just expect my body to like basically protect you from becoming a dad. When he said, but babe, we're not ready for a child, he was basically saying to me, if you are pregnant, Karabo, you're having an abortion. For me it was like, so you would not want me to be your baby mama. We've been together for all these months, and you claim to love me. We spend all our time together. You don't want me to be your baby mama, but you were prepared to go and become the stepfather of some other female. All the insecurities that woman put in my life, and all the insecurities that my ex basically was confirming as a stamp on my uncomfortable big forehead as fact, they broke my heart. I just stood there looking at him on some, you jump up and down all up on me, and you don't even anticipate that you might just be a dad because of that, and then you basically suggest abortion to me when I hint that there is a scare up in this monster of such a nature. What? Stepdad. But you can't even be a dad to a woman that is your actual girlfriend that you spend all this time with. You are not prepared to break your particular bank or disquiet your particular life for a baby that will be in my belly as your biological child. But you want to raise the kid. You are happy to be the stepfather of your best friend's child, belonging to your best friend's baby mama, because y'all got tight. Guys, it broke. I don't even know what to do. I did not know what to do. And then I bought a pregnancy test the next Monday, I believe, right? Not Monday. I think the very, like, on the weekend, I went dragging my body through life to the mall, to the spa. I got a pregnancy test. It came back negative, right? But when I finally did see that doctor on the Monday, because I went, like, I had to go. He said, you're highly unlikely pregnant, but I'll take a pregnancy test anyway. And he took one in his office, and I was negative. It was a urine test. He said there's no need for me to take a blood because it's unlikely if that I am pregnant, because he identified all the symptoms of what he said was pneumonia. I was basically dying. He's like, if I had come to him a day later, I would have had to be admitted into hospital. It was that bad, right? So he put me on some hard knock antibiotics. I had a urinary tract infection as well because of, like, the sun. I had, like, I don't know, like, there's just a lot of stuff that was wrong with me, and he just put me on a cocktail of medication that he gave me, so I didn't have to buy it, right? So nice to have a family doctor that is happy to just make some concessions for some people. Anyway, this doctor basically saved my life, and through him I confirmed that I was not pregnant. I did take another pregnancy test after I got a bit better, and I still was not pregnant, right? So I basically wasn't pregnant. That's it. However, just the fact that my ex-boyfriend wanted me to have an abortion if I was pregnant, that thing stuck with me throughout the relationship. I could not overcome it until we broke up, because, like I said, he was prepared to be the stepdad of some other woman, but not the biological dad of me. It made me feel so worthless and so small, and I knew on that particular day that he was going to see that woman. So it made me feel like he's gonna be, like, making out with her all night while I sit here coughing it up a storm, phlegmy, in bed, dying from a disease I didn't even know I had. And if at all I have his baby, he's gonna expect me to, like, abort. Guys, I wasn't ready for a child, and I don't even know if I would have had an abortion, because I frankly was not pro-life at that time, but I was very hurt by the suggestion. Like I said, it never left throughout the relationship. That is how much my ex-boyfriend really, really loved this woman, enough to basically things that he wasn't ready for, he was now happy to start walking in them, insofar as this woman would agree to be with him. He loved her that much, more, I would imagine, even than me, because I would have carried his biological child, but then he was happy to raise a step one because of her. Like, that's what a man does when he loves a woman. I had a cousin who, like, basically took a woman in as his own. That was when he met her 6 months pregnant, and he raised that child from zero. She only found out when she was 23 that he is not her biological dad. That's how much he loved that woman that was somewhat an auntie to me. That's what a man is prepared to do for a woman that he really loves. And that made me realize how much my ex loved this girl, and there was nothing I could do. As you guys, I felt so listless. At this point, I was just so violently in love with him that I was like, I don't want to be with a man that's that in love with another woman. Next part.